get a whiskey. If anybody wants to get a beer before this clinic, please feel absolutely free to get a beer. Oh, you've had one already? Okay.
Rob, I'm just going to give you an introduction if you don't mind.
Of course. Do you want me to move? Oh, you got one of your own?
Right guys, here we go again. It's our second masterclass clinic of the day with Chappers himself. And I just also wanted to let everybody know that we also have Guitar Interactive magazine here. We've got Nick Jennison and Jonathan Graham, wherever he's hiding. His lights are very bright. And so you'll see them floating around, taking footage. Don't be scared to approach them. Yeah, we're hoping to capture as much cool footage from this event as possible. You know, we consider this to be quite a historic event, and you're going to receive this footage too. One of the things that we were talking about was getting close-ups on the screen, but we're having a little bit of a technical difficulty with that right now, but you will receive recordings of this. I believe that Rob is going to show you some chicken picking, and the up-close visuals will be important going forward, but yeah, so I hope you enjoy this clinic with Rob, and over to you, my friend.
Cheers, bro. Hello, everybody. Give yourselves a round of applause. Woo! Yeah! Alrighty, if you just saw John Goldie, I'm not as good as that. So I'd like to apologise in advance. Also, I'm English, I'm sorry, because we're in Scotland. I'd like you all to imagine that you have a tiny but incredibly powerful vocalist, and you take this incredibly powerful vocalist and lock them in a bathroom and make them sing as loud as is humanly possible. What do you think you would hear? Hands up. This is interactive. Give me a hand. What do you think you would hear? Would you hear just the singer? Or would you hear the singer and the whole room reverberate? Yes, I'm getting a nod from a non-guitarist. This is encouraging. You'd hear the bathroom, yeah? Everything would resonate along with the vocalist. Now imagine if that room had 6 massive metallic vibrating objects contained within it, suspended from the ceiling all the way to the floor, mic'd up, and you get that singer to sing as loud as possible in that little bathroom with these suspended metallic objects. How would it sound then? Even louder, yeah? If you own a nice guitar, and I'm definitely looking at some lovely acquisitions here, and you all look as if you have maybe more than 2. Hands up if you've got more than 4. Hands up if you've got more than 6. Hands up if you've got more than 10. Yes. He who dies with the most guitars wins. We all know that. But what I'm getting at through that beautiful, beautiful analogy was that if you have a good guitar, and actually even a crap guitar, everything in the physics system will attempt to resonate with you when you're playing. And I had a really interesting developmental short amount of time where that was very clearly projected into my brain. I'm going to tell you about it, and then I'm going to tell you why, because I think it's important. So, as many of you probably started, because I think some of us are kind of a similar age, you know, in our 20s. Yeah. I started playing with big stacks, you know, Marshall valve amps, Orange valve amps, 4x2, like a full stack, because I needed a full stack in my garage. It was imperative that I had every speaker possible, you know. And I played very, very loud for way too long without hearing protection, but well, that's another story. And my drummer was shit, and he would play even louder than me, and I would try and get over the drummer, and volume became an integral part of my practice. If there was no volume, I didn't feel like I was playing guitar. And then I'll never forget playing my first ever gig at the Rose and Crown pub in Trowbridge in Wiltshire with my parents and about 5 of their friends. It was the best gig ever. And I'm playing, you know, all this Always With You, Always With Me, Joe Satriani, and, you know, melodic, and then Slayer. And I got a lot of... That's how I sounded. I still thought I was amazing, even though I sounded like arse. And what was happening was that the amp was really close to me, and whenever I would turn to speak to the audience, it would feed back, and it was just horrendous. I persevered and ended up, through a whole different chain of circumstances, at Abbey Road, being recorded by Eddie Kramer. Hands up if you know who Eddie Kramer is. Okay, a few of you know. So Eddie is a legendary producer-engineer who produced and engineered, amongst many people, Jimi Hendrix and Stones and Steve Vai and some like my idols. And the whole way through, I had the biggest feeling of imposter syndrome you could ever possibly imagine. You know, like, what am I doing here? This is mad. But we got on really, really well. But while we were playing, he stopped me and said, I'm going to teach you something now, Rob. I want you to pay attention, listen very closely to me. And I was like, okay. When Eddie Kramer tells you to pay attention, probably you should pay attention. He said, I want you to play one note. Do you think you can do that? And I was like, oh my God, this is like John Goldie's One Note Blues, but harder, because we're at Abbey Road recording an EP. And I was like, yeah. And he went, but I didn't hear one note. I heard a barrage of harmonics. And I thought, oh, I think I understand what he's saying. He said, you need to do what Jimmy did and what everyone else that I've worked with did and learn how to not play everything else you're not wanting to play. And I was like, how the hell do I do that? And he went, I don't know, just touch it. That was his words, because he's not a guitar player, he's a pianist, made amazing cups of tea, engineers and produces. He said, all I know is that the people who play guitar with me that were really good, when they wanted to play something, what you heard was what they intended to play at you. It wasn't everything else trying to empathetically resonate alongside. And I waded my way through the recording, came out with a recording I was happy with, and we had another Abbey Road recording coming up, months later. In the interim, my friends, are you still with me? Good, okay. In the interim, I discovered a vocalist called Alison Krauss. Alison Krauss has some particularly incredible musicians, including Ron Block and Tan Tyminski, who are phenomenal guitar players, dobro players, and they use hybrid picking. So they use a pick or a thumb pick, and they use their fingers just to make things even harder. Because why not make the best instrument on the planet even harder to play? And I thought, wait a minute, this is interesting. They're picking faster, more notes. And the one thing I need is I need to be as fast as possible. And chicken picking is going to get me, is going to get me to the speed. But what happened and what was really interesting in the process of studying the hybrid picking technique is that intuitively I began to rest my fingers on the idle strings. And as a result, when I was playing loud, they weren't all ringing out. So instead of getting the... You hear that? It's horrible, isn't it? Instead I was getting a pureness, a single note that becomes a harmonic if you're loud enough. There wasn't any interference with the other strings empathetically resonating. So I thought, I'm onto something here. I practiced the hybrid picking a lot, doing all sorts of... all that kind of the claw and just sweeping. I was wondering maybe if I could Ingve by kind of peeling off my fingers, that kind of thing, I couldn't. And then I went back to Abbey Road, and Eddie said, you've cracked it. Something that you've done has made your sound more like the intention you were putting out. And it really sunk into me that what I wanted to do really with lead playing in particular, but also with rhythm playing, was to be able to sing with my left hand. And the only way you can do that is if you kill everything else. And no one really talks about it, because we all talk about what you're playing, the notes you're playing. I'm playing. I'm playing chords and I'm playing licks. But what you're not hearing is what I'm not playing. Do you see what I'm saying? So I want to teach you some of the ways that I remove the unwanted empathetic resonations from the guitar to make it really pure. And what I'd like to do is demonstrate this through some interaction with some people that will come up and help me, because it will really knock this home to you. And this is applicable to every single style, genre, any stringed instrument, really, unless you bow it, in which case, get out. And it's so interesting because the guitar not only emits the sound you intended it to, but it also sounds different because you're allowing that 1 or 2 or 3 strings to be freer because they're not being interfered with. Have you heard about this theory? Well, it's not a theory, it's true, that if you have a pickup here and it's really strong, it pulls the strings and it prevents them from resonating as much as if you had like a Jeff Beck situation with 1 pickup. Have you heard this? It's true. I own a guitar company and we do the math. And if you put a really strong, like I have, which is stupid, wind it down a bit more, and it sounds like a different instrument. It's really interesting. So let's start with the simplest exercise. I'd like you to place your pick in between 2 fingers if you have a pick. Do you all have picks? Does anybody not have a pick? Come on, Dave. Come here, bro. No. I should also say, and this isn't me selling picks because I don't care what pick you use, but I use a pick that doesn't move. My pick is immovable. I want complete consistency all the time. I don't want something that bends or changes. I want me to be the one that goes softer rather than the pick. So it's completely rigid the whole time. It's better to be that way. I'm looking at you, Nick Jennison. So let's start with these 3 fingers. Let's just place your swearing finger and your ring finger on the E and the B string, like this. The E and the B string, the beast ring. And then I want, with your pick, I want you to pick the G string. So it goes. Everybody do that. 3, 2, 1. Wait. 3, 2, 1. It's good. Oh, by the way, I'm a semitone down. It doesn't make a difference for this examination. Yeah. 3, 2, 1. Let's see who's louder. We'll do this side first, then this side. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Kind of consistent volume. Interesting. Now, what you'll notice, though, is we're not muting the E, A, and D strings, because as you lift your thumb up, they're left exposed. They could just do that, which would be really annoying. I'm simulating volume. So what you could do is, once you've picked with your plectrum, you could rest your thumb, the side of your thumb, on top of the E, A, and D string. So just practice. So you pick, and then you rest your thumb on top of the E, A, and D. So it'll look like this. Ready? 3, 2, 1, all of you, go. Good. And what you need to make sure is that if this is the string you are picking, when you've picked it, come up and rest. You need to travel away from the string that you just picked. I'm over-exaggerating the mechanics to make it much more obvious to you how this operates so that you can make it smaller later on. We'll do it again. I'm looking at your fingers. 3, 2, 1, go. So don't bring your thumb anywhere near that G string. It needs to be away from the G string. Otherwise, what we're effectively doing is leaving a hole for 1 string only. So now, pick, leave your thumb rested, and let's see how long that string resonates for. Go. And now I want you to do this. Are you getting the G string ringing? Yeah? Because it should only be that. Good. Okay. Let's move this hole down a string. So we're going to put these 3 fingers on the E string. We're going to pick the B string and then rest our thumb on the G string and lie it down flat on the E, A, and D. You ready? We're all going to pick B. It should sound like this. That'll be your note. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Good. And then leave your hand in position and just slap the strings. Very good. Yeah, this is good. Interesting how some of the guitars are super loud and some of them are not as loud. That's definitely a tone wood thing, I think. So this movable hole, I can't think of a better term for it than movable hole, I'm sorry, it's just, nothing else is going to exist, is really useful. And here's one thing that you can do that's really fun. You can do things like that, and it sounds super clean 80s. Let's just try this first part. You can just hammer, hammer, pull, pull. Hammer, hammer, pull, pull. And because I'm a semitone down, just do it from the 5th fret to the 7th fret. So just go. That's it. And leave that hand in position. Good, now we'll try the G string. You ready? So we're going to go up, we're going to pick the G string, let it resonate, and do the same thing. 5, 7, 5, pull. It's pleasant. You're in control of the string. Everything else is killed. May I have a giant-handed volunteer? Who thinks they've got, I don't know, or small hands? I just need a volunteer, really. Who's brave and wants to come up and help me demonstrate something? Yes, you. Come up, sir. I need one more volunteer. This can be male, female, you know, anything. Anyone that's a volunteer. Come. Put your guitar down there, sir. Thank you. So, what I'm going to show you is an extreme version of this technique. I am going to attempt to play guitar. But while I'm playing, I want you both to absolutely mess with the strings. Spare me no quarter, okay? Let me just slightly move this. And what I'm going to do is, to make it harder, I'm going to add gain. So there's more opportunity for problems, because gain and volume is problems. So this is how it sounds. Gate, because I don't like noise gates really, they get in the way. So, I'm going to play. Doesn't matter what you do, but just mess with the strings. Get closer, get closer. You can use a pick, or fingers, or nose, anything at all. Get closer, get closer. Can you reach the strings?
For sure.
Can you reach the strings? Sure. Good, so. So, it's a funny demonstration, and normally I just do it with one person, but I thought, why not? I've got 2 beautiful men. Let's do it with 2 men. If you learn how to control the noise that way, it just sounds so much clearer, and the guitar is allowed to make the sound that it's trying to emit for you. So you kind of get more of your money's worth. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it really is a very different sounding instrument. And what it turns into is something that is a lot more vocal. You can do a lot more. just as I lifted my hand once, I had that tiny bit of noise. I hate that. It's super clean, huh? I love that. I think some of the nicest playing is the playing with feel that's a little bit vocal and it's pure and the guitar is doing that resonation thing. There's another half to this because we've done the right hand, but there's something I didn't tell you, which is that if you mute a loud guitar string, gain or no gain, at one point, you're going to get... You're going to get a harmonic, aren't you? So you really need to mute a string at 2 points. That makes it a little bit harder. So what I do, especially for the, like if I'm doing legato, all that kind of liquid legato stuff, you don't need to play that style, but just as an analogy, if I'm doing legato runs or quick runs, I need to mute with the left hand as well. And this is what you do. You use the underside of the fingers or the thumb to touch anything that you can that is available to touch. Effectively, touch everything possible on the strings. But if you've got a bell, say you're holding a reasonable weighted bell and you've got a big stick and you go boom, it's going to ring for a long time, yeah? If you hold the bell and then hit it, it's going to go like a cowbell, yeah? And the guitar is designed to resonate. As a person that makes guitars, I know this intimately because all of the money in the factory and the design goes into trying to get this thing so that if you, and actually this is a test that you can all do to see if your guitars are good. This can upset people sometimes. But if you just hit the strings and just touch very lightly the end of your headstock, it should feel like a party. It should be vibrating really readily. If it's dead, then the guitar isn't resonating correctly all the way through the whole system. You should feel it. You should feel it with one string. If you haven't got a guitar, imagine you have an air guitar. Feel it just here. It should be alive. So, for example, if I'm playing a single note on the G string, and I'm picking and I'm resting on these top 3 bass strings, and then resting these fingers on the bottom treble strings, I still have the opportunity with my thumb to double mute at the E and the A string, which you see Jimi Hendrix doing all the time. He's not always pressing down, sometimes he's resting, so that you get a mute, see? Have you ever tried that before? I know you have, you're a B.B. King fan. B.B. knows what's up. So play a G string note. I want a random note so that we're going to get an interesting chord. Everyone pick a random note on the G string. I bet you've all chosen the same note. It'd be so funny if you have. Don't play it, don't cheat, don't let anyone hear it. Keep it secret, keep it safe, okay? And I want you to pick, mute with the treble strings, rest on the bass strings, and use your thumb to just double touch the E and the A string. If you can reach over, if you can't, don't worry, just touch the E string. It's an extra string that won't make noise for you. And we'll do it. 3, 2, 1. Oh, that's beautiful. That was that was a beautiful experience. So anything that can rest. If you are doing Nick Jennison style, 3 note per string, crazy, all that kind of stuff, and you're in what I call the eagle pose. You got the eagle and the bear. There's more of a bear, and this is more of an eagle. If you're eagling like this, 3 note per string, scalar stuff, jazzy, anything, whatever it is, you've got the underside of your first finger more often than not available to mute these strings as well. And we do that in rhythm playing. Who was it that asked me about ukulele playing? You said, yeah, ask the question, please. Yeah. So he's talking about... So I've got harmonics coming. Hear that? Coming from two places. The first place is behind the nut. If it's not... This is the reason why I reverse the headstock. I want the length of the string, as opposed to the short strings, to be the thicker ones because they are less prone to empathetic resonation when you're playing heavy chords with lots of gain. And I've recorded a lot of 6 guitars worth of tracking, loud, bambacam. So it's been important to have as little nut ring as possible. Can everyone say nut ring? 3, 2, 1. That's great. You're all in my. You've never said nut amongst this many men in your life. Yeah, when you're really hammering rhythm guitar, this is just going to ring. And also, if you've got a Strat, the springs are going to make a noise. It causes part of that, like the after effect of the strike. So what you need is to rest as well as do the bounce. So you can't just do the you've got to rest and bounce. And with open chords, it's the same situation. But you need to be mindful of the open strings. So in this instance, I'm playing like a beautiful C, any chord, but I can still mute this E string. I can still rest my fingers on this G string. And the best way to practice this, by the way, is just to play a not chord. So I'm positioned to play this C chord, but I want to practice the not chord. So I've got a little harmonic there. If I rest, there's no harmonic now because it's muted at 2 points. Interesting, isn't it? It's hard. It's difficult. The bouncing and the resting and then killing the strings that are going to create extra notes. But it's worthwhile, I think. Sting thought so. Do I have any questions about muting using this hybrid technique or anything to do with muting in general before we move on to Lydian arpeggiated sweeps? I'm kidding. We're not doing that. Yeah. Tell them they're very naughty. Yeah. No, you know when you get pickups aftermarket and you get the foam underneath? Chop that foam up, slip it underneath them springs, and it's perfect. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Now, is that just for recording or is that anytime? Because it's for recording. The reason is I'm so unbelievably privileged, and I've recorded at the best places on the planet with some amazing, like even Nick Tauber that did Def Leppard and Thin Lizzy and all these ridiculous, it's mad. The shit that's happened to me is insane. It shouldn't have happened to me. But because I've been forced into these positions where I've been really listened to, things like that are a big deal. And when you are layering guitars, problems become more apparent in the mix. And then it's a problem for the producer and the engineers and the mixing and the mastering. And that chain of consequences compounds the problem. So, for example, I had a band called Dorje, and we would record very heavy, very loud, drop-tuned guitar. And I would be on the left-hand side with a clean, a crunch, and then a gain. And then my buddy Rabia would be on the other side with a clean, a crunch, and a gain. So 6 tracks of guitar playing the same. And if you've got 6 tracks of... it just builds into this pyramid of pain that someone's got to try and remove. So yeah, we used to just put foam rubber under the springs. We used to wrap toilet paper around here or cloth or anything, you know. And it really helps when you're doing multiple tracking of instruments like that. Otherwise, yeah, you just got problems, especially with compression. No, not at all. No. But then there's only 2 guitars. So it's less, it's the compounding of 6 guitars with the same problem causing that peak in the different frequencies. Then it gets hard to get out, you know. Especially, well, no, there are all sorts of other things that make it much harder. You know, really good guitars are much harder to record because of that, because everything is resonating. If you've got a shit guitar with slightly dead strings, it's much easier to record 6 tracks of that guitar. You don't think about it that way, but it's true, you know. So, yeah, live, it's not much of an issue because there's only 2 guitars, well, there were when I was doing it. If you had 6 guitarists, maybe, you know. But it's the compound of the problem. So, yeah, foam, put something here. I wouldn't put the little thing here because I think it looks really silly. And also, just learn the technique, and then it's in your hands. You don't need to, you know, do anything else. You, sir. It's a very good question. And we kind of do. So this was part of the answer, reversing this, because if the majority of the length is in the treble strings, you get a lot more nut ring, because the thinner strings resonate easier, which is why I've reversed the headstocks. But then people ask for it to be back the other way, which I then call a reverse. And I tend to play hardtails. I don't really play a trem, mostly because I absolutely fell in love with Steve Vai and I just overdid the whammy bar, and I couldn't play anything else without one. So I thought, remove the whammy bar, go into remission. Yeah, but teaching correct technique is really the way to deal with it, you know, because you want a guitar to resonate. That's a good question. A lot of it is to do with what do people want to buy, you know. And at Chapman Guitars, our guitars are collaboratively designed. So, for example, a lot of this was decided by people that follow my guitar brand. You know, they wanted the materials, the construction method, the gauge, the color. In fact, we've got a color vote right now. Head to chapmanguitars.com to vote on a color for a new guitar. Any, yes, sir.
Can you talk about adjusting this technique for like pentatonic note stops or like 2 strings you want to bring out?
Sure. Love that journey. So, the answer is very short. It's exactly the same technique. So, if I'm playing, I'm playing like a 4th shape, using my D and my G string with my little 3rd finger and my little finger. So once I've plucked, I'm still resting my little finger and sometimes even my ring finger on the E and the B below. It becomes a subconscious thing. And I was telling you about this over lunch, which was amazing. The volume is the teacher. And we have a pandemic of people learning, playing digital devices with noise gates quietly. And so they're not being exposed to volume, making the machine ring. If you want to see an absolute master of what I'm explaining to you, go and see any Jeff Beck, because he's playing incredibly loud and he is only having come out the purest of notes that he chooses. Nothing unwanted is heard. And for him, it was just a natural thing. He's all down here. His hand is subconsciously doing it all for him, you know. I see a lot of this technique in people that play with their fingers too. Like Brian May did it quite a lot until he moved on to the coin. He was using fingers. Do you know that? He used to use his finger like this. It's really weird to watch. Looks like a little creature manipulating the strings for him. But he had phenomenal muting, you know. And then there are some players that have bad or even cannot mute, but they do it all with the left hand. Like Marty Friedman's a good example of that. His picking technique, he cannot mute with the right hand. So he mutes with the left hand. Or he has as little gain possible. I know, because I set his amp up for him. It's a really weird experience. Any other questions? This is an interactive situation, so please feel free to ask me anything at all, whether it's about YouTube or Andertons or guitars or gear or modal sweeping arpeggios or speed picking techniques or how to play like John Goldie. I can't play like John Goldie. If there are no further questions, then I can move on to another subject. Would you like me to do that? Yes, please. Okay. So, I'm going to teach you a sweep. But this is a pentatonic blues thing. So I'm teaching you a new technique, potentially, but it will fit into any style or genre of music. Does that sound fun? Yeah, come on, guys. So, check this out. Oh, wait, I've got to... Let me just double check my tuning with this new X Trident. It's like in Wayne's World with the Coke. It's weird to think you're not hearing an amp. The PA is my amplifier now. So, that's better. This is a really easy sweep. Don't think of it as a sweep. Think of it more as the lick you play when you completely run out of stuff to play. Okay? Have this one right in your back pocket. So when you're on stage at the Dog and Duck, jeez, and you've done, and you've gone, oh God, I've run out, I've got nothing left, I've got literally nothing left. You've got this lick, okay? You can break it into parts. You can do it in one movement. It's there for you. It doesn't care about genre. It doesn't care if you can't play it cleanly. It's a cool lick. So we'll do this in A. So first finger on the 5th fret E string. And we're just going to do a power chord. So that and then the 7th fret on the A string. Everyone go da da. Sorry, for you it will sound like. Good. Everyone got that? We'll get to the picking part in a minute. I'm just going to give you the air guitar this one, please. I want to see you air guitar it. Or can you borrow a guitar? Maybe you can borrow. So, power chord. And then you're going to come down with the first finger to the D string, and you're going to do exactly the same. But for you, it will sound like this. So it's another power chord. Yeah? So it will sound like this. You can do it really slowly. We can go like... Let's do it together. We're going to kind of go... 3, 4... Bow, 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 bow. And again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. So next, first finger lies flat on the B and the E string, and we're just going to go just those 2 notes. It'll be here. It'll be the 5th fret. So you get this. That's how it will sound. It'll look like this. So in your mind, you can think of it as a power chord, another power chord, and then just flat. Let's try and coordinate that in a man-flesh tsunami. That's the name of my next tune. So we're just going to go 3, 4, bow, 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 bow. Yeah? And again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, we'll add on to it. So we're going to, once you've played that last note, that one, we're going to put our 3rd finger down, a tone away from it, which will sound like this. And then I want you to bend it. It should sound like a banshee crying on the wind. So this is how it will sound. I'll do it again. It's kind of Gary Moore inspired. So only using the high E, yeah. So I've got... It's beautifully musical. Which one do you know? Do you know the first one? It's that one. So check this out. If I'm... So you can even do like... You can go into blues licks from it. You can break it apart. Or you can scale from it. It's a multifaceted, varied, useful tool. I can see Jennison's getting slight wood from from watching this. You can also move it. If you've got one of those breaks in a tune where it's like a single, just a droned bass note, boom, 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 and when the band breaks down and the bass just goes dun dun gun 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 gun, you can move this around. It's so useful. I learnt this from Sean Baxter when I was studying guitar at the Guitar Institute in Acton, beautiful sunny Acton in London. It was useful. Let's do it again. We'll do it together. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. It kind of lends itself here to going up that semitone and then... Because it kind of feels like you're ending it there. Intervallically, it could be a nice end, you know. Little bit Gilmore-esque. Are we into the Gilmore? That's one person. It's good. 2, 3. I'll tell him. he'll be happy. Go away, Rob. Who are you? Stop following me. Did you enjoy that lick? Yeah? Do you want like more licks? Or do you have any questions? I can see you got a question. I've got a question for you. Where did you get the shirt? No, I'm talking to this guy here. Yeah. Joe Brown's. Okay, thank you. Actually, and where did you get your shirt? Okay. Yeah, I'm hitting everything. Yeah, so, sorry, I should have got to the picking part. I didn't even touch the picking part. You're absolutely correct. How stupid of me. So, when we talk about the sweeping thing, it's such a weird term because we're strumming. It's like you're strumming a chord. So don't think of it as this kind of crazy Steve Vai sweeping elite technique. You're just strumming a chord. You know, if you play an E chord, and I say, strum it romantically, as if a woman might enjoy it, you're going to go, it's the same thing. There's no difference. You see what I'm saying? So it is important that your pick is gripped lightly, because if you hold it hard, what happens is you'll bounce off the strings. I'll try and exaggerate it. You'll get this... It'll sound... See, my hand is literally trampolining off the strings. But if you hold it so that... I don't know if you can see this. This is where super close... Oh my God. Super close up chap hand cam would have been useful. Maybe this camera can get my hand. But my pick is allowed to move in my fingers. I'm not gripping it hard unless I want to grip it hard. it needs to be free to move so that you can... Because if it's not soft, it won't glide over the strings. It'll bounce off the strings. So all of that, all that kind of stuff. Is with a softly gripped pick. It should be soft. Grip it hard. All that kind of crap where you're accentuating harmonics or pick attack, or not that I got thousands of tons of dynamic with the digital preamp, but so that's how I pick it. I strum it. Think of it as strumming, not as sweeping. It makes it feel like it's easier to do as well. Do you know what I mean? So you can just relax the hand is key. If you're holding it hard, it'll never work. And by the way, you can do this with any pathway through a scale in any direction. So if you're just playing pentatonic 1, you could just go, I want that one, this one, these two, these. That's all I'm doing. Just choosing a pathway that sounds nice. Any more questions?
So, Rob, you mentioned about wanting to sing the guitar when you talked about the leading side of things.
Yeah.
You've been on a journey yourself as a vocalist. Did you learn anything about the guitar playing, anything that's influenced the guitar playing from that journey as a journey into becoming the vocalist?
That's such a great question. Thank you, Nick. That's good. It's a good one. Yeah, I'm a strong believer that the guitar that you remember once you've listened to the solo is the vocal part of the solo. I'm a massive Peter Green fan, Jimi Hendrix fan, and it's all the vocal parts. And I often tell when I had students and I taught guitar, I would say, listen, go and listen to singers and try as much as possible to play vocal lines. It's really hard because they do not fit into a box at all. They have their own boxes, and yeah, that's it. And I released one under Monkey Lord. It's now under Rob Chapman, called Chromatic Aberration, which was an entirely improvised EP with 6 tracks, all me trying to be a vocalist. So I'm sort of doing the... anything to make a vocal line. And vocalists do interesting things. They repeat notes way more than you think they would. Guitar players don't normally repeat a note, but if you imagine like... that's the kind of thing a vocalist would do. Because when they've got the lyric, when I'm singing, I don't always want to change the note on a lyric. Sometimes it feels nice to have that same note. So I always tell people, listen to really good soul singers, Tina Turner, Aretha Franklin, Etta James, anyone that's just giving it emotion, and then try and copy some of the vocal licks. It's mad. It really is. Because you find it's a lot less, and a lot more. And by the way, that harmonic only happened because everything else was dead. I love that sound. So yeah, vocals. And I'm a fan of Yngwie Malmsteen. Not the speed shredding bits, I like the bit he does at the end of the speed shred, which is the invariable blues lick. So he does the sort of, and I can't do Yngwie, but you know, that kind of run, and he'll finish it with that beautiful vibrato and that one note, and you hear that, for some reason that sinks in. The run was a build-up to that emotional part. Something else, really good questions, thank you. Something else about the bending and the vibrato is that not many guitar players measure it or consider its depth. So what I found a lot of when I was teaching was people would consider vibrato to be a shake that you did on a note. So maybe, I don't know, and that would be vibrato. But it's not. Vibrato is controlled, measured, repetitive bending. I'll say that again. Vibrato is controlled, measured, repetitive bending. Because otherwise, you could vibrate out of key. And you've probably never considered that, but I'm very sorry. Now you're aware of it. How's that breathing going for you? Are you on an in or an out breath right now? That's good. Now you're aware of your breathing. It's the same thing with vibrato. You're now going to hear people. And you're like, wait a minute. Is that in the key of what I was playing? It's not in the key. No, it's not in key at all. But for some reason, we gloss over it. But the people that are controlled and aware of the pitch of their vibrato, subconsciously it feels nicer because they're paying credence to that. The intervallics line up and arrange nicely. Never better execute than Steve Vai, who, love or hate, his Lydian craziness is measuring everything beautifully. So, for example, if I'm doing, I don't know, just a G note on a pentatonic one, you know. So that note, and by the way, sometimes the best vibrato is none, because no one's expecting that, you know. But if I was to give this vibrato, are you going up? Are you going down? What are you doing? Hands up. From here. Should I take that up or should I bring it down? Who thinks down? You're all correct. Because if I do, you get that. You've all heard that before in guitar shops and places of all. But if I go down, that's in key. And the same with that's in key, but it's in, but it's not really what you wanted intervallically, is it? There's a lot of that, especially with the first finger. You can measure it, so am I going to go here or there? So if I'm sounds all right, but that sounds better in the context of like White Snake style lead. So it's important to consider and measure the repetitive bending. Has to be that. Your question, sir. Very good question. It's not a vibration, it's a bend. It's from the whole system of the forearm. It can't be from the fingers. If you try to make the movement happen like this, you'll have pain. And also, it's much harder to control that small of a movement. Whereas if you do it from the whole forearm system, it's much easier to control the pitch. I'll show you. God, I wish I had big cam. But you see I've got a hole here. You could fit maybe a plum in my hand or an egg. You want that space because if you're flat, you can't turn your hand. So it needs to be open to allow the turning. So if I'm like this and I want to bend that G string, these fingers are just being turned by the forearm. So my pivot point is my hand here is resting on the guitar neck like this, and my whole forearm is driving my finger up. So my third finger is the point of bend. My second finger is supporting that. My first finger is muting the crap above me because I'm going to be bending into these strings and I don't want them to make noise because I'm Rob Chapman and I'm obsessed with noise. So this is like an audio snowplow. It's killing the strings above. And if you don't have it there, I won't forgive you. So see? Now, you can all practice this without even playing. If you just put your third finger on the G string at the 7th fret, put your swearing finger behind it on the same string to support it. Do it with your air guitar. Rest your first finger idly on the strings above, and then just keep your thumb up here, as nature intended. Good. And then what I want you to do is just remove your fingers from the G string, and as you close, it's like opening a door with a door handle. As you do it, this finger will go off the fretboard. See that? I'm not bending this finger. You can even rest a finger on it to really get the feel of the mechanic involved in this bend. You see this? So everyone start with your finger down. Place your other finger on top so that you can feel the pressure. And then push that finger up by turning the forearm. Yeah, you got it good. Good. Show me, Nick. So take your fingers off. Put your right hand on top. That's it. And then push that finger up. Yeah, you're doing kind of aerobics. That's it. But don't move the finger. Turn the forearm to move the finger. Yeah, that's it. You do it. Let me see. That's it. You got it. Perfect. Very good. Dave, let me see. No, you don't need to touch the strings. So just touch the G string and then lift your finger above. Put your right hand finger on top and just push it off the fretboard like that. You see this? So imagine this is a... So I've got that space. Because a lot of guitar players, they'll play with their hand flat like this, like they're serving a neck. But it doesn't work. The only way you get vibrato here is if you do nylon style this, which only works on a nylon string guitar because you're stretching and pulling the string. On a steel string, it will have very little effect. So you need to, this part of your little finger needs to be pushed down to allow the space for that bend. And then you can bend and vibrate as much as your heart contents. My heart contents a lot. Bending and vibrato is the same thing. There's no difference between the two. One of them is repeated, and they're both measured. So rather than... That's a bend. That's vibrato. You, sir. Yeah. Yeah. So I've gone on a string journey. Let me tell you my string journey. So I started off using 9s and I broke them. And they were expensive when I was a kid. So I thought, all right, I'll try 10s. And they were too thick. So I down-tuned. And then when I started learning to sing, I discovered that I'm like a stretchy baritone. My vocal range sat better with a tuning drop C sharp. So half a step down and then dropped as well. I was a bit too flappy with 10s. So I use a 52. I use like a 10 to 52 set or an 11 to 56, depending on if I'm drop C sharp or drop C. The thing is, there's absolutely no right answer. I think that there's negligible difference in tone on the treble strings. On the bass strings, it sounds better, thicker, I think. But then it depends on how much gain you're using. Because if you're using like this kind of gain, never going to hear the string gauge anyway. You know. I like the feel of resistance. I don't want it to be too soft. I find it hard, especially touring. Because as some of you guys that have toured or do tour will know, you get tour hand. It gets so strong. 2 shows in, I'm upping the gauge of strings. I have never started a tour with like 10 to 52 and not ended up with 11 to 56. They just get strong. And then it feels too soft and it's weird because you can't, they're not pushing back to you. You need to feel the resistance to have the interaction between the player and the guitar. In my experience anyway. I mean, who am I? But that's how it feels. So I think a good balanced set is just 10s to start with, and then just sort of move it to see how you feel, you know. And everyone needs to experiment with mixing sets. So for this clinic, because when I'm performing, I'm going to be doing a lot of just shred. I've got a 10 gauge, but this is a 52. So I can... that kind of stuff, you know. I can't even. Play the A chord from God. Because everyone needs the A chord from God. But so yeah, 10s. What do you use at the moment? 9s are good, yeah. 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 There's absolutely no shame in playing 8s, 9s, whatever you want. In fact, I'll tell you what, and this isn't me dropping names, but just as I think it might be useful for you to know, but I played with Paul Gilbert and I played with Steve Vai. And in both instances, interestingly, they told me they dropped a gauge. So Paul had gone from 10s to 9s, and he said, yeah, I'm just getting older. Just makes it easier with all the shred, you know. In between blowing my mind with unbelievable picking stuff. And Steve had just had a stroke, and so it was easier for him to play with 9s. And he said it was hard to get used to, but it just, you know, or something like a stroke. I'm not sure what it was. He had some kind of, something had happened to him, and it made it easier to use the nines. And he still sounded like Steve Vai, you know. I was back-to-back playing Wind Cries Mary. It was a shoot me now moment. It was insane. So yeah. Hands up if you use tens. Okay. And hands up if you use nines. Yeah, so tens wins. I think that's. Any other questions or requests? Yeah.
It sounded like you're saying after you're picking. I found for whatever reason I started to kind of stick my hand on the strings all the time.
Yeah, you can do. You can do. What you might get is the sound of this, which some people use to make melodies with, which is interesting. But no, you won't hear it when you're picking, but it's there. So just as little as possible to make the strings make a noise, which is the hardest part about playing guitar. If you remember being a complete beginner, trying to play a D chord and not make, or G chord, and not make the strings that you didn't want to ring out. It's the same thing, it's just at a higher level, you know. But yeah, if that works for you, then just do it. Everyone's going to play differently.
Instinctually, it just happened.
Yeah,
And then get your hands on the strings to stop the noise.
yeah.
When you do have a high gain amp, I think it just happened.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, and for the most part, you know, if you're playing loud and it's chords, no one's going to hear anything really. It's the lead playing where you hear it a lot, you know, and the compounded issue of recording. Actually, do you guys record? Any of you go home and record stuff? It's so important because not only from the point of view of creating music and expressing yourself through art, but when you record yourself, you really hear all the problems. It's so hard. You're like, oh my God, I thought I could play. I thought I was good, but I can't play this one chord. You know, and like John was saying, the easy stuff is so hard sometimes. Just the exposing things are the hardest, you know. I find that a nightmare still. So we're probably getting close to bringing this to an end, a grinding halt. But if you've got any other questions, I'm here to take them. Anyone else? No? Okay. Well then, thank you very much for being here. I really appreciate it. I've been Rob Chapman. Like and subscribe. And I'll see you every day for the rest of this week. Cheers, guys.